continue. Step up on the boards, gentlemen. We're going to get up on these panels and make one final stop. And pause, please. We're going to continue. Now face the casket, gentlemen. Take hold with both hands and sidestep across the grip. Come forward. Centered. Stop and lower together with your knees if you can. Move your gloves down and place them here beneath your side. And then take them and put them underneath because they're going to blow off.
At this point, we're going to pause for a moment and make the tear, and then we'll resume our service. We're formally beginning our service in just a moment.
Rabbi, you're going to stand here.
I'd like to, but that's okay.
Wherever you say.
I would recommend it. I need to be able to elaborate.
Oh, God. I'm going to ask those the immediate
Can
ones.
they move the chair or something to the side? Or get closer?
For the immediate.
Just the immediate family.
Sure, whatever you want to do. I didn't know if you wanted to be out here or. Let's hold on one second. Rabbi wants to do Kriya.
Okay.
So let me bring the immediate mourners together. We're going to gather right here. We can move it wherever you want. Rabbi will come right over.
Before we formally begin our service, in our tradition, we mark a loss, that there's an empty space in our hearts by making a tear. For children, it's directly over the heart. For a sibling, it's on the other side of our chest. We're going to recite a blessing first before we make the tear. Everyone's welcome to join me in the blessing. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Dayan HaEmet. Blessed are you, Lord our God, the Judge of truth. And those wearing the ribbons, okay, that's in the right place. It's for a sibling. Okay, and now each of you, ask yourself. Scram up. Take it to the bottom. That's okay. Kirk will help you in a second.
Tail with one hand and then the other. You kind of give a little pull. You might need my help. Ties are here. Yeah. Go ahead now. Give it that. Now take that to the bottom. Hold that tail. Give a little pull. Okay, and then take your ribbon. Split your ribbon. Want me to help you with the ribbon? I'll start it.
You decided you want to? Okay.
Okay. We got some chairs up.
Yeah, whoever needs shade, Grace and Cheryl, I recommend it.
Joe, do you want to sit?
I still can't believe it.
Yeah, you guys can, wherever you're most comfortable.
I'm gonna stay here. I don't want to walk on that narrow path.
Can I walk you? I will walk you.
We can sheet that for sometimes we must standing. When we pay it, we must standing.
Give me 1 second, Rabbi. I want to give family their cottage cards. Turn it up.
Our friends, we're going to start our service now. There are many on Zoom as well, including Kinder Schiffman and Rabbi Weiss. We all loved Vera so much. Our service is going to formally start with Cantor Schiffman leading us Psalm 23 in the Hebrew.
Before I read the psalm that the cantor chanted, Psalm 23 in English, I just want to say that my heart goes out to the entire family. All of us in the synagogue had a very deep love for Vera. She was a really wonderful, special, beautiful person, and we all felt very, very close to her. And we miss her already. And thinking of her brings us want you to know that we're carrying all of you in our hearts on this day. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you, Kenner Shipton and Reva Weiss, for starting the service, as difficult as it is to be gathered here. We recognize that we cannot all be standing here together at the graveside, physically holding each other up. But we still must gather today to share words of praise, of thanks, and of honor as we remember our dear Vera Isokowitz, a beloved daughter, a beloved sister, a beloved wife, a beloved mother, a beloved grandmother, a beloved aunt, a Holocaust survivor, and a wonderful friend. Today we offer our deepest condolences to Vera's family, to the apples of her eye, her children, to Grace and Gary, to Cheryl, to Steve and Monica, to Mark and Melissa, to the diamonds in her crown, her grandchildren, all of which, except for one, were able to be here today, and the other, of course, virtually joining us. Jennifer, Rachel, Sophie, Carly, Zachary, Hannah, and Stacy. We extend our condolences to Brother Joe, adoring nieces and nephews, the entire survivor community, to all of her friends, and to all of us who love Vera. This was unexpected and shocking. And yet we gather to remember and honor as Vera now joins those who have gone before. She joins her beloved husband, Paul, the love of her life, together for nearly 40 years before his passing already 17 years ago. She rejoins her grandson, Matthew, taken so young and whom she honored each and every day. She rejoins her parents, Margot and Irving, whom she loved so much, surviving the Shoah together with them in hiding. She rejoins all those in her family killed in the Shoah. She rejoins all those who have gone before in heaven. Today there are several special family tributes. Much of the family have words to share about Vera, whom we love so much. I'm first going to call upon her son, Steve, to come forward.
I hope you'll excuse me for taking off my mask, but I want to make sure my mom can hear me. Dear Mom, I don't know. I am struggling. I don't know what to say. Knowing how you liked emailing with me, I thought I'd write this last email to you. I am still in shock since you passed away. To lose a loved one without saying goodbye is very hard. Nonetheless, I know you are listening now. This past Sunday, maybe just a couple hours before you left us, I hung up the phone after speaking with you for 40 minutes. Your last words to me were, "I love you very much." I remember thinking I should say, "I love you," again, but figured I'd let you have the last words as usual. You always finished our weekly Sunday call with those words. No no matter how hard or difficult my week, those 5 words would always rejuvenate me, especially as I knew how truly deep those words came from your heart. To me, my siblings, and our spouses, all the grandkids, the whole family. So here I am, here we all are. What I would give to have one of your classic hugs with that extra squeeze that you gave to let me know how much you cared. We all want one more hug from you. We want to see your pure smile. We want to bask in the warmth of your greetings. We want to talk with you, knowing that you were always interested in talking about us, not you. You were ever so private and modest. You always felt the most important person in the world was the person you were with. And you made each of us feel special. And of course, you never wanted, in your own words, to bother us as you felt we were quite so busy. You never wanted to be a burden. You often said that when your day of passing comes, you hope it is peacefully and without asking for any help, any burden on those you love. God listened to you and granted your wish. My wish, if God is listening, is for one more hug. In that hug, I would give you the extra squeeze. That squeeze would be for being an amazing mom, a mom and grandmother whose love knew no boundaries. That squeeze would be so much that I'll miss. How you'll always make time for me and my family. How we had special weekends, just the 2 of us in your kitchen talking for hours. No matter when I would fly in, you'd magically have cooked every dish of food that I love, including vats of chulent and chicken paprikash with dumplings, and expect that I'd eat it all. And I did. That hug, that squeeze would be for your life's journey that made me so proud. Born in a country once known as Czechoslovakia, with your happy memories as a child in Košice and Prešov. So close with your parents and proud how their bravery helped you survive as a hidden child during the Nazi Holocaust. How your father was so proud of you, and his favorite story of survival was when the whole family was hiding in a ditch from the Nazis in the snow and cold. And you made him smile when you said, with one more branch over our head, this could be just like home. You came to America with the dream to start anew, work hard to help your parents and brother, marry Dad and love and care for him until he left us, and have 4 children that meant so much. Our childhood was filled with many smiles and laughs, family gatherings, delicious food, wonderful traditions, Jewish holidays, and family friends showing up unexpectedly. But with your gracious hospitality, you always would have an extra chair at the table and plenty of food. Most important, you taught us all, and especially your children, the importance of being a good person, or as you would say in Yiddish, a mensch. You often would tell me when I was little, you didn't care how smart, rich, or powerful I might be in the future, as it would mean nothing if I'm not a good person, a person of integrity and kindness. Those words became deeply ingrained in me. Whenever you would say how proud you were, I would always say it's because you taught me well. You taught us all well. You taught me to be a good son, brother, husband, father, uncle, cousin, friend, leader, and citizen. And most importantly, a mensch. As I sat on the plane coming from Los Angeles to Cleveland, I read and reread all your last emails and text messages you sent me. They made me smile and cry, laugh and lament, feel good and sad. I want to share a few sent in just the past few weeks. Regarding good news, you wrote me, thank you for sharing. It means a lot to me. Have a good week. Love you, Mom. Regarding a phone video I sent you, oh my God, I'm sitting here laughing and crying at the same time. Absolutely adorable. I love it and I love you, Mom. Regarding my job, you wrote, I know you have a space launch this afternoon. Thinking about you. How exciting. Love you, Mom. Regarding my childhood, I was thinking when you were in elementary school, weren't you a chess champion? I know. I was proud of you then and still proud. Regarding my safety, you wrote, are the fires anywhere near you in LA? When I replied, I'm okay, you gave the classic response, thank God. Regarding Dad, you wrote, hi, as always, when I get one of these, I talk to your dad about it. And regarding pictures of my children, you wrote, oh, how beautiful, they look so happy, I love it, thank you very much, I love you, Mom. And regarding an old video I sent you of our family traditional Passover Seder at the chef's house from over 30 years ago, you wrote, "Dear Steve, thank you for sharing these lovely memories. Look at your baby faces. This brings back memories of the beloved ones who are with us only in our hearts." And in your final email to me, you wrote about our Matthew Fellowship Program. "Dear Steve, I'm so proud what you and the family have accomplished. I was so touched by each and every one of you with your closing words. Thank you ever so much for sharing this with me. It means so much to me. I cry with you and I smile with you, remembering this very thoughtful and kind soul that was my grandson, Matthew. I love you, Mom." Dear Mom, these are just a few of the last notes you wrote me. They will forever remind me how much you care, your love of family, your ability for finding goodness and laughter, and your commitment to remember the past. And as you said, those beloved ones who are with us only in our hearts. Now you are in our hearts. Now you are with your parents, with Dad and with Matthew. My personal devastation of your loss is somewhat offset knowing that you are with them now. As Matthew taught me, a life is never lost as long as there is someone to remember it. Dear Mom, after you passed, I found this note from Rabbi Luria in your prayer book next to your bed. Let me read from it. "Know that our lives are eternally bound. We have a bond of love, unconditional and unbreakable. I will never forget you and will always carry you in my heart and in all that I do. May your name always bring me blessing, inspiration, and strength. And may it bring us all. Mom, you made me a better person. You made our loved ones a better family, and you made our world a better place. I miss you, and this time I'll say the final words. I love you very much."
Now Vera's son-in-law, really son-in-law, Gary.
This one might be a little difficult for me. I first married Grace. Vera welcomed me to the family and treated me as one of her own sons. She loved me dearly, and I loved her very much. Between all the Shabbases and meals and holidays that we had together, she cooked for an army, as she normally did, but always packed up and gave us everything to go. She was charming, she was loving, she was my advisor. She listened, she always asked how things were with me, and when I started doing the entertaining, she always asked how the shows went and how everything was. She always gave me good advice. I always needed somebody if I needed to talk to. She would always have an ear for me and always made room and space for me also. I'm going to miss her dearly. And with that, I ask that we say rest in peace and amen.
And now we're going to hear from several of the grandchildren, in particular Carly, Jennifer, and Sophie. And if they either want to come up as a group or one by one.
Anyone who knew Grandma or anyone who talked to her for just a few minutes. Knew that family was everything to her. I've always ended every phone call and conversation with "I love you," which I knew I got from my parents, but really we all got it from her. never missed a chance to tell us how much she loved us and how proud she was. I'm sad today because I can't hug her, and I'm sad that I won't be able to hug her. On my wedding day in a few weeks, but all I can think about is that she wasn't sad in her last moments here. She was looking forward to our wedding and Jenny and Pavel's wedding, and she was happy to see our family growing. She was happy to hear about Hannah's plans to move out west in the fall, and she was happy to hear about Zachary and Allie's new house and Putney on the way. She was happy when Stacy graduated from school and was happy to hear about Rachel's passion for Jewish history. She was happy to hear about Sophie's new job, and when the time came, she was overjoyed to see Matthew. So even though I'm sad today, and I know this time will be hard for all of us, I'm certain that she wasn't sad at the end. And that's really all that matters. We can deal with the hard part, knowing that she was hopeful and happy at the end. Grandma bought Eric and my bedroom set as a wedding gift. She bought us this big comfy bed that we sleep in every night. Every night we get under the covers and we talk about love and family and our future. And I think she knew that's what we would do. And that's why she insisted on the biggest, comfiest, most expensive bed. She gave us a space to support each other and rest our heads after a hard day, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. I won't get to hug her today or on my wedding day, but in a few weeks when 2 of her granddaughters walk down the aisle, she'll be watching us with Pop, the love of her life. She'll be so, so happy, and that's more than enough for me. I'm so grateful. For the 30 years of memories I have of Grandma Vera. She was simply the best grandma you could ask for. She made the best food, gave the best hugs, and had the best laugh. When she called on my birthdays, she'd send her love and say, "I wish you what you wish for yourself, only good things." It was something her father used to say, but it captures the love and support she always expressed to me and all her grandkids. She wanted the best for us, while also being proud of whatever paths we chose for ourselves. I last saw Grandma over July 4th weekend. Even with our masks on and staying 6 feet apart, I'm so thankful we had that time together, and to have yet another happy memory I can always keep with me. She shared fun stories of meeting Pop and getting married, and I'm comforted knowing her and Pop are together now. I know they're smiling down on us, sending us their love, and wishing us what we wish for ourselves, only good things. When I think of Grandma Vera, I think of her welcoming round eyes, her sweet heart, and her soft skin. I remember the taste of the best matzo ball soup in the whole world, and the warmth of the scarves she knit for her grandchildren. I have such fun memories of so many wonderful trips with my cousins to, as I called it as a child, Cleveland. On those trips, I always loved seeing pictures of the two of us side by side at the same age, showing how much resemblance she and I had with our big brown eyes. As a child, I mistakenly called Grandma's hair orange when it was really brown, leading her to stop coloring it. I hope she can forgive me. Grandma was always so proud of her children and grandchildren and found joy in our happiness. In a recent text, she wrote to me, "I am happy, you are happy." When she and I would talk on the phone, she always wanted to hear about what was the next new adventure we were all up to. But as much as Grandma was proud of us, I know we were even more proud to call her our grandma, and we always will be. Despite experiencing hardships no one should have to face like she did as a child in Europe, she became one of the kindest souls I've ever known. Despite not being able to go to school with her classmates at a young age, she instilled in her family a love for learning and attended many of our high school and college graduations. Just today, I found a card in Grandma's office that I wrote to her after my college graduation that said, "It is thanks to my siblings, parents, and ultimately my grandparents who inspired me to follow my dreams and value education. Thank you for always setting a great example." Grandma also taught her grandchildren the importance of remembering the past so we can build a better future. Because of her, Pop and Grandma Margot, I helped run a program in college that brought Holocaust survivors to campus each week to meet with students. I'll really miss Grandma's sweet texts, her heartfelt phone calls, and her warm hugs, but I am comforted in knowing that she gets to be with her parents, Pop and Matthew, forever now. Thank you, Grandma, for leading the way for all of us. Thank you for everything. We love you always.
Not only was she a very loving grandmother, but she had a beautiful soul. She was very loving. She always knew what to say with her words of wisdom. And while growing up, I learned she was my hero. She always knew what to say when you were feeling down. She was always there to boost you up with whatever she had to say. And because of that, I felt like I was able to pull through during any time whatsoever. She would always say, even if we weren't together, that I love you, you're always in my thoughts. She would always say that no matter what, even if I am not with you in person and through communication, I will always be with you. When it came to any celebration, she was always more than thrilled to find out. She was always full of emotion, again with her big eyes and her big smile. When it came to surprises, she always knew how to respond, and her reactions were very, very priceless. Although you are gone now, I love you and I miss you. I hadn't seen you since Thanksgiving, but we've been communicating through phone and text. I always text you whenever anything came up. I always look forward to your replies. And even though it was all through text, I could hear and know exactly how you would always react or respond. It's hard, but like you would always say, the important thing is to be strong. You are very strong, and I love you and I miss you.
And our final family speaker today is her son, Mark. Kids, thank you. It was beautiful.
Three stories. One, when I was a little boy, Steve and I got into a little fight. Our hands got tangled, and my pinky finger wound up wrapped horizontally across my other four fingers in a way that could only be described as unnatural. I screamed in pain. Grace and Cheryl yelled at Steve. Steve said I didn't do anything. Chaos ensued. My dad, of blessed memory, chased me around the house and said, "Let me fix it." I said no. He said, unconvincingly, "I'm just going to straighten it out." For those of you who remember my father, and there are many of you, he had the hard hands of a laborer, each finger like a steel cable. I locked myself in the bathroom and refused to come out until Mom got home. I needed my mom. The earth would stop its rotation. Until I saw her. I was feeling the ultimate maternal yearning. I knew there was no way out of that bathroom other than to repair my wayward, throbbing finger. But first, I needed my mom's soft hand on mine. I needed the protection of her practical wisdom, and I needed the example of her inextinguishable calm to restore my own. She took me to the hospital. She fixed me. Order in the universe was restored. And by the way, Steve never got in trouble. But that's not the point. The story symbolizes what Mom meant to me. Compassion mixed with strength, urgency mixed with calm, an unwavering commitment to always, always, always do the right thing. When your storm was fierce and your ship was crashing on the waves, Mom was a lighthouse of stability, the direction home, the quiet port that would make you feel warm and welcome and safe and certain when things felt uncertain. I can hardly think of a nicer way to be described in the times in which we live. Second story. Less than a year after Dad died, I took Mom to Israel. It may be the best thing we ever did together. Mom loved our guide, who traveled with us, because he was salty and rude, which really made Mom feel like she was in Israel. She brought gifts for our Israeli cousins who adored her. She walked 1,000,000 steps in Jerusalem and never complained. And even though she was still heartbroken about Dad and his long goodbye, she was very happy on that trip. That happiness was ruptured only once. Near the Kotel in the Old City, Mom spotted some Israeli soldiers. Young women soldiers, strong with tan skin, engaging smiles, khaki uniforms, Uzi machine guns over their shoulders, and combat boots on their feet. For those of you who have experienced this in Israel, you know it is the very thing in Israel that makes you feel safe and proud. But I looked at Mom, and her eyes were filled with tears. She could barely speak. She said, "I look at these young people and they are so beautiful, and their futures are so bright. And when I think about them fighting in a war or someone trying to hurt them, I just can't stand the thought of it." Well, that was Mom too. She was all too familiar with tragedy, and she also deeply appreciated goodness and decency. And when thoughts of tragedy and beauty met in the same place, particularly in young people, she couldn't take it. Being hidden as a small child in the Holocaust, adapting to a new country as a refugee, that she could manage. But when she looked at someone or something she loved, like her children or her grandchildren or the causes she cared about, and thought they might be in some peril, that she could not take. She either had to go fix it, like she did for countless of us, or if she couldn't fix it, she was encumbered by great stress. We know this was true until her dying day. If I could change one thing, I would have done a better job. If I could change one thing, I would have done a better job convincing her to let us help share that burden, to help her carry that weight. Final story. I think I spoke to Mom only minutes before she left us. She was in some pain from a non-life-threatening condition, but was in good spirits. She told me she was happy her doctor texted her back that day, not because it made her feel any better, but because getting back to someone is the right thing to do. She told me again she loved the simple elegance of Carly's wedding invitation. She shared some observations about a Netflix program Missy and I had recommended and was considering watching more episodes. She told me she loved me, and I said I loved her too. She hung up with me and must have gone to the kitchen to have dinner, and that is where Grace and Gary found her the next morning. When I heard they found her in her chair, it immediately brought to mind that as a little girl in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia, Mom told of nightmares of the Nazis chasing her, and in the dream she would dive into a river to escape them. And she would wake up the next morning on the floor. That was the beginning of her life. The end of her life was on her terms. Unshakable, unbreakable. Whatever was powerful enough to take her life the other day, it did not knock her over. She was sitting in her chair, at her kitchen table, a to-do list right in front of her, a picture of my dad right across from her, steady and brave. The Psalms tell us that a righteous person is as strong and stable as a cedar tree. Solomon's temple was built from cedar trees, which suggests not just physical strength, but spiritual strength. That's how Mom left us. The moral of these three stories: the important thing to Vera Isokowitz was her dignity and her independence. She was graceful and modest and elegant and looked you in the eye and asked you how you were doing and remembered what was important to you. But above all, dignified, a dignified adult. When Dad died, I talked a lot about how he symbolized, for me, the dignity of hard work. That's what my eulogy was about, the dignity of hard work. Mom represented for me the hard work of dignity. Be kind. Meet your responsibilities. Say please and thank you. Make your guests feel at home. Dress nice for a nice occasion. Hold your head high. Don't be afraid. Face what you must. Stay calm. Be decent. Be tough but tender. And every single day, tell someone you love them. Rabbi, if Mom was still alive, she would have live streamed your services this coming Shabbat. After losing Dad, Shabbat for her was about prayer and friends who are here, and you, Rabbi. I'm guessing she likely would have heard you talk this coming Shabbat about the fact that the Torah portion this week, and in the Torah portion this week, we read one of the most famous biblical verses. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Righteousness, righteousness you shall pursue. Righteousness, righteousness. We say it twice. Righteousness, righteousness. We say it twice because the word is so important and has so many different meanings. And it is a word that had 1,000 meanings in the face, and eyes, and actions, and memory of Vera Isokowitz, all of which are etched on my soul forever.
Rabbi say devarim yotzim melev nechnasim belev. Words that come from the heart penetrate our hearts. And these beautiful family remembrances and tributes really bring Vera here. And we will carry them on as a great we will also. I could simply just add Vera was wonderful. She was good, but so much more than that. Compassionate, devoted, strong and kind. She was a lady. Miss Manners, Gary told me, a woman of faith, raised her family to live a life following the highest morals and ethics. A balavust, more than a housewife and a homemaker, she did everything, always so dedicated to each and every one of you. She lived for you, took amazing pride in you. She was a gute neshama. She had a big heart, a good soul that we all miss so much already. Family had talked about her growing up in Czechoslovakia. As a hidden child, I'll just add one more piece to it. In order to survive, Vera at a very young age had to assume a new persona. she took on a Christian name, Eva Vashenkova, and she had to live that persona in order to survive. It's hard to imagine how someone could have done it, but Vera did. She always remained positive, looking to the future, making the best of things, living a life of survival and rising above. More than just making do with what she had, she did it with her amazing, understated style and grace, her caring and inner will that propelled her forward. Moving to Cleveland just before the age of 14, determined to lose her accent and to become American, to adapt quickly. Watching movies and so studious, she rose in the student council at John Hay High School, excelled in classes, participated in public speaking. At that time, these were not usual for immigrant children. It also wasn't easy. The family had a good life in Europe before the war, but here they had nothing. Your mom would wake up at 4 in the morning, do her homework, and then at 5 in the morning she would go to work and then to school. Life wasn't easy. She never complained, made the best of it, looked at the bright side. She met her beloved Paul the old-fashioned way, through a matchmaker, a shadchan. Not quite how you'd think, though. Paul was related to Tanta Lana, the matchmaker, and she had Vera's picture. Dad would sometimes help Tanta. She asked him to take pictures of young women to men, prospective men, to see what they think. One day, Tanta Lana handed Paul Vera's picture with a mission to bring it to a young man. Well, Paul took on this assignment, but he took one look at Mom's picture and he said, "You know, she's not so bad looking. Maybe I'll try her first." The photo never made it to the other man. Vera was apprehensive about the shidduch. She wasn't sure what she was getting into. She made her mother answer the door when Paul came that first date. Mom approved, or Grandma approved, and so did Vera. Though Paul was 11 years older, they had found each other's bashirt, their life partner and best friend. After 6 weeks together, they already knew they'd get married. Paul then asked Vera's father for her hand in marriage. But Vera was still in high school, and they agreed to wait until she finished school. Finally, Paul asked Vera in this way to marry her. "What would you say if I asked you to marry me?" Vera was still unprepared for the question, and the story is told that she spilled punch all over herself when he asked that. They were married on June 20th, 1964 at Taylor Road Synagogue. 1954 at Taylor Road Synagogue, on the hottest day of the year. In the words of granddaughter Stacy, they had an iconic and true love story. So supportive of one another, extremely close, a true partnership. Paul worked so hard, making his way up the plumbing company. Vera working by his side at times. Mom was the one who raised you, with Dad working 7 days a week. She was so dedicated to you, teaching you right from wrong, as you said, strong Jewish background and foundation, Hebrew school almost every day, a Shabbos dinner that you would savor. A cook and a baker extraordinaire. You grew up in the house that your father built, 21 Cedar View Drive. Mom was so content in that home. It was always filled with warmth, just right. The front door was always unlocked so that all the friends who were like family would come right in and sit down, with Mom ready to feed them. As Gary said, she cooked for an army. She always had 2 full-size refrigerators and freezers because she was always ready for you, to welcome you back home. She was so devoted to the love of her life, Paul, even through his decline in illness. She was the ultimate caregiver. You already heard, her children always came first, doing everything for each and every one of you. She was so proud of you and would tell about each of you, shepping nachas about your career, the families you've built, about the grandchildren. She'd always share with me personally your latest accomplishments and the next simchas. And as already mentioned, how she was looking forward to those fall weddings. She even actually arranged to have the ufrufs at our synagogue here in Cleveland. She'd tell me Steve, who works in aerospace, could reach the heavens, the Shemayim. Mark, a leader in our government, shaping the course of our nation. For girls, caring for all in healthcare, and a Judaics teacher, sharing Jewish traditions and taking care of those ill. She was a mother and grandmother that wanted her children and grandchildren to have more than her, a better life.
She lived through you and your accomplishments. Vera was very active in the Children's Survivors Group with her good friend Rose Gelbart, an active member of Kol Israel for so many years, including secretary of the Women's Organization. Her closest friends were the survivors. You were her family. You raised your children together and traveled together. We were honored to have Vera as an active member of our congregation and a Shabbat regular. At Kiddush, she would make the rounds, saying hello to everyone, wishing everyone a good Shabbos. And even in COVID times, as you mentioned, Mark, when we started to pray over Zoom, Vera, not a modern woman, figured it out, mostly to be with her family, but also to be with us. Every Shabbos morning over Zoom, when services ended, with her big smile, her face would pop up on Zoom, and she would wish everyone a good Shabbos from her apartment. She never lost faith in God, and that helped keep her going. She davened every morning when she woke up. We've had several members of our congregation continue to reach out and call Vera regularly during this time of isolation. Each call, this was actually reported to me by one of our members, each call she would say to them, "Don't worry about me. It's the young people who we should worry about." She was thoughtful and considerate to the end. I will add that Vera truly lived her life in these last few years to honor Matthew, a blessed memory. She would always send me the list of the new fellows for Matthew's program, and in that way, she continued to carry on Matthew's legacy. As the program says, it helps fund and support the next generation of commercial spaceflight. As I said, carrying on his legacy into the stars. Vera herself has also left an incredible legacy, and she is now with him. I'm reminded of the poem by Chana Senesh that speaks to how we all feel today. There are stars whose light reaches the earth only after themselves have left us, and they are no more. And there are people whose scintillating memory lights the world after they have passed from it. These lights which shine in the darkest night are those which illuminate the path for us. And so it is with Vera and Matthew. We will miss our time with Vera, her life lessons, but even more than that, we will miss her kind heart, her strength and determination, the joy that she got from her family, for she lived for you and loved you all so much. May her name always bring blessings. Tehei Zichrono Baruch, and we say, Amen. At this point, we're going to pause in our service as the casket is lowered. Cantor Shipman will recite the traditional Tziduk Hadin. And after the lowering of the casket, we're going to participate in the ritual of shoveling. We're going to ask first that the family comes to shovel, and after that, then other family and friends who are here and participating in the mitzvah.
ובזכות הנקל בהקסם. אז המלך זכי לכינה לא לסר, תכונה נקל בסק שיום ויעשה. תדי בחודך וצריך תמך, הפעם דולך נמנים וחמם לא זכנה וסמך המאמנים. ייחד על הסליחות ורחמים. תדי גתנה למלך היה לשם יחד בגלל גבלכות. חלילה לך זכרוני נמיכות, כדאי עיניך ורחמים עלינו בקודו. כי לך טוב ורחמים הסליחות על אדם בן שמיים, ואלו שנים יחיה. ויתרון לו ולא יהיה ברוך האמת באמת וחיי ברוך הוא כאמת לינו ושודד כל בינו משלם אדם חסבנו ותנמק ולשמו את עיתנו ידענו רק יצא במשפטך תסתק בדבריך ותזכר בשבתך בעיניך ובנת שבתך תדיג אתה אדוני ישר משפטך ותאיר בית שבת צדק אמת ברוך תהיה אמת ושכל משתם צדק אמת נבט כל חי בינך צדק אמת בינך ובצבא פרידת צון ידך, ותאמר למה חייך ידך, גדול היצר אבל יעשר ידך במופק ולא ידרך אדם אתן יגדרך כפים עליו להגיע כשנה יצרים ועברת בו אדוני נתן, אדוני לקח יישם עליהם לברך ורחם יכפר עמו ישחית ירבה להשיב אפו
ask for the family to start the ritual of shoveling earth upon the casket. Following the shoveling, I will gather for closing prayers.
know, but she's having these episodes. No, she's not. She was drinking water. She was sitting, but she's
Friends, we're now going to gather for our closing prayers.
Ask the mourners to come back. We'll come back up toward the gravesite, please.
Cantor Schiffman is going to lead us over Zoom with the Almali, the memorial prayer for Vera. El Mayor Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, for the soul of our beloved Vera Gittel, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that a loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May she merit the reward for living a life filled with kindness, love, and compassion. May her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. And we say, Amen. At this point, we're going to ask for the family to join together in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabah, V'alma Divrach, Yeruteh, V'yamlik Mafruteh, V'chayekon, V'yomekon, V'chaye Dekol Beit Yisrael, Agala V'yizman Kari V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabah Mebarak, V'yalam Olamei Omaya, V'yitbarak, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitrama, V'yitdaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitala, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekusha B'richu, La'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechamata Da'amiran V'yalama V'yamru, Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'yamru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mramav, U'ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'yamru, Amen.
Amen.
And before we conclude our service, I'll note that the family is holding Shivas over Zoom today beginning at 5 o'clock. They'll also be from 5 to 7, and then at 7 p.m. on the same Zoom link, which can be available on, if you call B'nai Yeshurun, 216-831-6555. We can send or tell you the Zoom meeting links and passwords. There'll be a Shiva Minyan on that same link tonight at 7 p.m. The family is also gathering again on Zoom for Shiva tomorrow, Thursday, from 2 to 4. It's difficult to say goodbye. We all loved Vera. We all benefit so greatly from her. And personally, from me and from all of us, and of course, most importantly, the family, we loved her. She was incredibly giving. It's my hope and my prayer for all of us that over the next days and weeks and months and years that we continue to benefit from the gifts that Vera gave to us. We recall with fondness all that she lived for, and that she can still teach us, still be with us, still guide us. May we never forget the gifts that she taught us. May she always be remembered with love. We say, Amen. And that formally concludes our service. At this point, we're going to ask for the extended family and friends that are here to form an aisle, a shura of consolation. It's difficult to leave the graveside, but we're going to help the family along the way. As the extended family have created the pathway, the aisle of consolation, we're going to ask for, when the family is ready, for the family to begin walking to their cars. I wish them words of comfort. And God bring you comfort among all those who mourn. We say, Amen. And this concludes our Zoom portion of our service. Yes. May God bring you comfort among all those who mourn. Anyone else that wants to participate in the shoveling, if you did not get a chance and want to honor Vera in that way, you're welcome to come up and shovel. Otherwise, our service is concluded. Please.